you will need a embroidery hoop, and as you guys can see, it is a big hoop. And then you'll need some acrylic yarns, and you will also need a punch needle. This is 5mm one with iron strip, and you will also need a mirror. As you all can see, I have also made this paper stencil, which is according to the size of my mirror, so you guys can see how it is. And then you'll also need monk's cloth / cross stitch fabric, whatever you want to call it. And then I have put it onto my hoop, and then I'm gonna trace the stencil onto my cloth. So after tracing the stencil, I'm just going to draw some flowers freehandedly, and you guys can draw whatever shape, whatever design you want. So after I'm done tracing, I'm just gonna take the iron strip and insert it from the side hole of the needle so that it comes straight out of the end part, and you guys can see how it's coming out. Then I'm gonna take the yarn and then insert it in the iron strip so you guys can see what I'm doing, and then I'm gonna pull it out using the tab that is on the front side like this. So while punch needling, make sure to loose your yarn because it is really important, otherwise you'll mess up the whole design. I'm gonna start by punching the border first, and then I will fill in the design. So you guys can see, you have to just simply punch the needle inside and go with the design. You guys can see I did the border, and I made a mistake that I didn't leave the place for the middle part of the flower, so you guys don't have to make that mistake. And then I'm gonna start punch needling the second layer, and just like this I'm gonna fill the whole flower. And after I'm done, I'm just gonna pull the thread out and cut it using the scissors. You guys can see I left the place for the middle part of the flower, and I pulled the thread out, so you guys can see you have to leave the space for it. So here you guys can see I'm done making all of the flowers, and then I'm gonna take the yellow yarn and fill the middle part of the flowers. The process of punch needling itself is pretty simple. You just need to punch and punch, but make sure that the thread is loosened from the back side, and it is pretty much it. You just have to cut it when it ends, and yeah, you are done. Now I'm just gonna start doing the border, and as you guys can see, I'm punching the outline first, and then I'm gonna punch the inside. So it's just totally up to you if you want to just divide it in specific areas. So here, as you guys can see, I'm showing you guys how to shift from one area to another one. It's pretty simple. You guys can see the process. After I'm done, I'm just gonna remove the fabric out of the embroidery hoop, and as you guys can see, it is pretty big, so I just need to trim the borders off using scissors. While cutting, make sure that you leave a little bit of cloth on the sides so that you can fold it later on and glue it on the back side of the frame. Now to fold the cloth neatly, I'm just gonna cut the sides like this, like the corners of the fabric, in a slit kind of form so that they fold really nicely, and then I'm gonna cut the middle part too. So I'm just gonna cut the middle part in the shape of the square like this, and then I'm gonna cut the corners. So I'm just gonna make slits on every corner of the squares like this so that they fold up on the back side like this. Now I'm gonna take a white glue and add it on the back side like this, and then I'm gonna take a spatula to actually spread it all out. So after spreading the glue, I'm just gonna fold over the leftover cloth, and you guys can see I'm just pasting it all over. So now you just have to leave it to dry, and our border slash frame is done. So for this next mirror, you will need colorful yarn of your choice, and you guys can see I've already put my cross stitch fabric in my embroidery hoop, and you guys can see I've also made a stencil of paper according to the size of my mirror, and now I'm gonna trace it onto my cross stitch fabric. After tracing the stencil from the outside, I'm just gonna go ahead and cut the stencil from the inside so that I can trace it too. After tracing everything, I'm just gonna go and draw some freehand things, which are squiggly designs, and you guys can see they're pretty freehand, and I'm just gonna go ahead and draw whatever I like. You guys can go with whatever shape or whatever design you like. Prior to making this, we also made a design on Procreate just to get an idea of what we are making. We'll insert it right here. Using the same technique we used earlier, I'm just gonna put the thread in my needle, and you guys can see how it is, and then I'm gonna make sure my yarn is loosened enough, and I'm gonna start punching the first shape. You guys can see how am I doing it. I'm just gonna start doing the border first, and then I'm gonna fill it in. Here you guys can see I did the border, and now I'm gonna fill it in, and I'm gonna start punching right underneath that border, and then I'm gonna fill the whole thing in. So you guys can see the process itself is really easy. You just need to keep on punching in whatever kind of pattern you like. So here you guys can see how the design looks from the back side. It looks so fluffy and nice. Now I'm gonna pull my needle out and place the finger on my thread so that it doesn't come out. I'm just gonna cut the excess off. So here you guys can see I did all the areas that were blue, and now I'm gonna start off doing the areas that are yellow. After I'm done punching all of the frame, I'm just gonna make sure that it is out of the hoop and then cut it in this shape so you guys can see what I am doing. And you just need to make sure that you don't cut the excess too much. Now I'm just making slits and cuts on the areas, and you guys can see the curves are there, but you need to cut them accordingly so that you can fold them later on without the back piece showing. So after I'm done doing the outside, I'm just gonna move on to the inside and make sure I'm just cutting a circle or a rectangle in the inside, and then I'm gonna make some slits. And you guys can see we have some random slits according to the shape of my inside and outside edges. So now it's time for us to actually pour the white glue on the back side of the punch needle frame, and then we are gonna spread it all out. And you guys can see how am I doing it, and now I'm gonna just paste everything together. So the process itself is really easy. You just have to fold over the fabric pieces and glue them in place. And if you think you need a lot more glue, then apply some glue on the pieces and you're done. As you guys can see, our frames are now dry, and now we're gonna move on to the mirror attaching part. For that, we'll need felt and we'll need a looking mirror. So don't get confused, because this is the back side of the mirror, not the front. So we just have to cover the edges up because they are sharp and it is just dangerous to leave them like this. So now I'm gonna trace the length of the mirror on the felt piece and make sure that the width is a lot more, because we just have to fold these pieces on the top of the mirror and the sides as well. So here you guys can see I made 4 of these strips to cover each of the side. Now using a strong glue, I will apply it on to the back side of the mirror as well as the front side to actually attach these strips. Now here you guys can see we are done pasting all of the sides and they are pretty much clean and nice. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and attach my border to my mirror. It's time for me to move on to the next mirror, and here you guys can see I made a stencil out of butter paper because I literally lost my paper one, so I had to make a new one. And you guys can see I'm just gonna trace it onto my felt and then cut it off. And after cutting it, I'm just gonna make sure that the stencil is aligning rightly, and then I'm gonna attach my mirror to the border, and then I'm gonna place the felt over it. So you just have to follow the process. after I'm done, I'm just gonna go ahead and take some scissors and cut the loops that are looking really bad or that were just not neat. So yes, you're done.